The day my brother sold my orchard, he did not call me. He mailed me a form. It came in a stiff white envelope from a law office in the county seat, 1 page, with a little yellow tab that said, "Sign here," and a cover letter that called it a routine correction of an old survey error. My name is Iris. The man selling the farm was my younger brother, Grant. And this is the story of how he spent an entire autumn proving and writing to a developer and a title company and a judge that the best 40 acres on our family land were absolutely, unquestionably his to sell, which turned out to be the only reason a court could hand every one of them to me. You have to understand what the orchard was. 40 acres of North Slope above Cold Creek, the good acres, the ones that catch the morning and drain clean and never flood, the piece our father Walter always said was the heart of the whole place. When I was 23, he walked me up there, put his hand on my shoulder, and told me it was mine. Not in a document. In the way our family did everything, with a handshake and a look and a job to do. So I did the job. I cleared it. I planted 400 trees with my own hands. I strung the fence along the creek myself in one long freezing October. I built the cabin. I paid the tax bill on that parcel every single year for 22 years, and I raised my whole adult life inside that fence, and not once in all that time did anyone in the county, or in my family, ever call it anything but Iris's orchard. But my father was a handshake man, and handshake men leave a mess on paper. Walter never split the deed. He meant to, the way people mean to fix a roof before winter. And then he died in his sleep the spring I turned 45, and when the will was read, it left the entire farm, one legal description, undivided, to Grant. There was a single soft line in it that said Iris has her place and is to keep it, and everyone in the room nodded because everyone knew what it meant. But a nod is not a deed. On paper, the day we buried our father, my brother Grant became the rickshaw owner of the house, the south fields, the barns, and, by the letter of a 100-year-old survey language, the 40 acres of orchard I had been living on and paying for since before his oldest child was born. Now here is the part Grant never thought about, and honestly the part I never thought about either, for 22 years, because I had no reason to. There is a rule as old as land itself, and every state has its own version of it. If you openly, honestly, and continuously treat a piece of ground as your own, out in the open where the true owner could see and object, and you do it for long enough, the law stops asking whose name is on the deed and starts asking whose life is on the land. They call it adverse possession, or quiet title, and the clock in our state runs 15 years. I had strung that fence, planted those trees, paid those taxes, and slept behind that creek for 22. My father did not give me a document. But the law had been quietly writing me one, a day at a time, the whole time I thought I was just tending apples. Grant was the charming one. He was the son who stayed near, who ran for the school board, who fixed people's fences for free on a Saturday so the whole county would say what a good man Walter raised. And he was good, in the way charming people are good, which is to say he was good until being good got expensive. He never lived on the farm. He lived in town in a nice house with a nice truck and a business that looked healthier than it was, and for years he treated my orchard the way you treat a relative's spare room, as a thing that was sort of the family's and sort of nobody's and definitely not worth a fight. I sent him half of every good harvest. I fixed his stories about the land at the dinner table when he got the acres wrong. I did not know I was raising a witness against my own claim. I found out I had raised one only after he decided the whole place was worth more sold than kept. Because a vineyard group came through the county that autumn, the kind with money that arrives in a black car and a slide deck, and they wanted the whole slope above Cold Creek, all of it, the house and the south fields, and, above everything else, my 40 acres of orchard. Because the orchard was the view, the orchard was the buildable ground. The orchard was the reason the number had a comma in a place it had never had before. 3.2 million for the family farm as one clean parcel. And Grant, who held the paper, who had never planted a tree or paid a tax on that slope in his life, looked at that number and made a quiet decision that he would sell all of it, and that the simplest way to deal with his sister living inside the best part of the deal was not to call her. It was to mail her a form. Here is what a clean sale actually requires, and it is the hinge of this whole story, so stay with me. To sell a farm as one parcel for 3.2 million, you cannot have a woman living on the best 40 acres claiming they are hers. The buyer's title company will not insure it. So Grant's lawyer did the thorough thing. They ran the title, they saw the old undivided description, and they saw the obvious problem, which was me, and they built a plan to erase me cleanly and cheaply. Step 1. Mail Iris a quitclaim deed, a simple form that says the signer gives up any claim she might have to the orchard, dressed up as a friendly correction of a survey error. Get her to sign it for nothing, out of family feeling, before she thinks too hard. Step 2. Record it. Step 3. Close the sale free and clear. It was a good plan. It was, in fact, almost the only plan that could have worked. And it depended entirely on me signing a piece of paper I did not understand, mailed by a brother I had stopped trusting the day I saw his handwriting on the tab. The form reached me on a Thursday. I sat at my kitchen table, inside the cabin I built, on the land I had paid for since Grant was a young man, and I read a letter from a stranger asking me to please sign away any claim I might have to my own orchard to help clear up an old survey confusion. And I felt the specific cold that comes when someone you love does a thing you cannot undo. And then, because I am the one in this family who reads the boring papers, I did not sign it. I put the form in a drawer, and the next morning I drove to the county seat and I asked the recorder for two things: every document ever filed against our land, and the name of a lawyer in that town who had never once shaken my brother's hand. The lawyer I found was a tired, careful woman who did nothing but land, and she read my brother's friendly little form once, and then she read it again, and then she asked me a question that had nothing to do with the form. She asked me what year I put up the fence. I told her, October, 22 years ago. I remember because the creek froze early. She got very still, the way careful people get still when a small fact turns into a large one, and she said the thing that turned the whole autumn around. She said, then it was never his to sell. Because the day I strung that wire and started living behind it as my own, out in the open where the whole county could see, I had not just built a fence. I had started a clock, and in our state that clock runs 15 years, and I had run it for 22, which meant the orchard had quietly, legally stopped being part of Grant's inheritance 7 years before he ever thought to sell it. She explained it to me slowly, and I'm going to explain it to you the same way because it is the whole engine of what happened next. Adverse possession is not squatting, and it is not stealing. It is the law's oldest answer to exactly my situation, a person who has openly, honestly, and continuously treated land as her own long past the deadline the true owner had to object. I had the proof most people never keep. 22 years of tax receipts in my name, insurance on the cabin, the dated photographs of the trees going in row by row, feed and supply invoices, even the county's own records showing they billed me, not Grant, for that parcel every year. Grant's paper said he owned the orchard. My life said the law had already taken it out of his hands and put it into mine, years ago, and simply never printed the deed. His form was not a correction of a survey error. It was a man asking me to please hand back the one thing the law had already decided he had lost. So I did not sign his form, and I did not call him. I am not proud of the silence, but I had watched my brother choose a mailed envelope over his own sister, and I had learned the lesson he taught me. Instead, 11 days before his sale was set to close, my lawyer filed a quiet title action in the county court, a formal petition asking a judge to confirm what the ground already knew, that the 40 acres above Cold Creek belonged to me by adverse possession, and to strike my brother's claim to them from the record forever. We attached the receipts. We attached the photographs. We attached the county's own tax history in my name. And then we did the one thing that stopped the sale cold. We recorded a notice of the lawsuit against the land itself, alias pendens, a public flag in the chain of title that tells the whole world a court is about to decide who owns this dirt. Then I drove home, sat on the porch of the cabin I built, and I waited. The title company found the flag within a day. They had to. A recorded lawsuit over ownership is not a family feeling or a boundary squabble. It is a live defect on the property that no honest insurer will ride over, because a buyer who closes on land that a court is about to award to someone else can pour his $3 million into ground that gets taken right back out from under him. The Vineyard Group's lawyers, who were paid to be careful and had not been careful enough, read my petition, and then read it again, and then advised their client to do the only sane thing, which was to stop. The closing did not happen. The clean $3.2 million sale, the one that needed my orchard most of all, simply froze in place, 11 days from the finish line, over a fence I strung in one cold October before my brother was even a father. Grant called me 9 times that week. I took the 10th. He was not charming anymore. He told me I was bitter, that I had always been bitter, that I was setting fire to the biggest number our family had ever seen out of spite, over a pile of apple trees I could have kept farming forever anyway. And when none of that moved me, he got down to the real fear underneath it, and he asked me what I actually wanted. So I told him the truth. I said I did not want his $3 million, and I did not want a fight in the newspaper, and I did not want an apology he did not mean. I wanted exactly what the law already said. I wanted the deed to the 40 acres above Cold Creek to read my name, the way my life had already earned it, and I wanted his form back so I could put it in the same drawer as the fence receipts. And there was a long silence on the line while my brother finally did the arithmetic he had spent the whole autumn avoiding. Because think about what Grant had actually done, without ever meaning to. To sell the farm as one parcel for a number with a comma in a new place, he had to prove to a developer, a title company, and a court that the orchard was truly, cleanly his to sell. He had to hire a lawyer to run the title, put my claim in writing, and try to record it away. And every single thing he did to erase me only dated my claim, documented my possession, and dragged the whole question in front of a judge who could look at 22 years of receipts and see in an afternoon what my father saw with a handshake. Grant did not sell the orchard. He built the exact case that took it from him. He rang a bell he could not unring, and the only person the law let answer it was the one who had been standing on the land the entire time. The judge signed the order that spring. The 40 acres above Cold Creek are mine now, in the record, in my name, quieted against every future claim, exactly as they had been mine in every way that mattered for 22 years. The Vineyard Group bought the house and the south fields for a fraction of their grand number, because a farm without its best slope is just a farm, and Grant walked away from the biggest deal of his life with a check far smaller than the one he mailed a form to protect. I did not feel like I had won anything. I felt like I had finally printed a deed my father wrote in the air the day he put his hand on my shoulder and told me the orchard was mine. The trees still fruit every fall, the fence still runs the creek, and the cabin still has one light on at night, which is the only thing the land was ever really asking of anyone. So you tell me. Grant says I torched $3 million over a technicality, that his sister should have picked up the phone before she picked up a lawyer. I say he tried to sell ground the law had already taken out of his hands, and the only paper he needed to read was the one that said the orchard stops being yours the day you stop standing on it. Guilty or not guilty? The verdict is yours in the comments. And if you think Grant took this quietly, wait until you hear what he did with the one part of the farm I never fenced, the old water well at the property line, which turned out to feed both houses and belonged to neither. That is the next tape. This has been the Vendetta Tapes.